All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, November 18th. We got 6 games on today's NBA slate. Like we always do, I'm going to jump into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my lean on the spread, give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about the games, but all my final plays, if you do want to fade those plays, my final plays, those will be in the pinned comment. Updated always by game time with plenty of time to spare before game time, updated throughout the day. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. In terms of last night, we go 2-2. Not going to kill us, not going to hurt us really. We did have the plus 100 same game parlay in the Nuggets and Pelicans. That was nice. The Kings win just barely. They cover for us just barely. And then the Nuggets and the Suns, actually the Nuggets lose outright. The Suns win by, I think it was 3. We needed them to win by 5. But like I said, it's not going to absolutely kill us. 2-2 tonight. Still on a 9-3 run in our last 12 plays. So that's the good news. We got some more good news here. The ride of the day coming in clutch, coming in from Shane. Kevin Durant over 11.5 assists plus rebounds. If I'm not mistaken, Durant finished with 9 boards and 9 dimes. So he got that number up to 18. Let's pump in some damn crowd noise for Shane. If you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day, just like Shane did in the comments. And I'm jumping on board with one person's pick in today's comments and giving you guys a shout out in the next video, win or loss. So drop those hashtag ride of the days. Now let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here. We have Charlotte hosting the Knicks. Both teams on a back-to-back here. Charlotte coming off of a 31-point loss to Milwaukee yesterday. Yikes. New York coming off of a nice 21-point win against Washington. We saw this matchup back just about 6 days ago, and Charlotte Knicks were at home, but Charlotte loses that one 129-107, so the Knicks get the dub. In terms of the spread being 6.5, I do think that the Knicks win this game. 6.5 worries me a little bit, but I don't think that I can confidently look at Charlotte. I think we leaned towards Charlotte when we covered this game prior to, because I was like, well, Charlotte has the pace, they can try and run. Looks like the Knicks were able to run with Charlotte last time they played, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and lean towards the Knicks here, minus the 6.5. I don't necessarily love it. In fact, what I would probably actually love in this game is the over 221. I've seen it at 221.5 and 222 on other sportsbooks. So if we can snag that at 221 right now, I don't hate that at all. I'm hoping a lot of money doesn't come on that and push it up, because I'd only probably play that up to like 220, maybe 223.5. But again, last time we saw these two teams played, 129-107 in a game in which I guess you could say was slightly fast-paced. It was still a fast-paced. It was still a blowout, but it was a consistent sort of 30-plus point quarter game from the Knicks across the board, and the Hornets gave it 25-plus in each quarter too, so it wasn't like it was an outlier of a score. Like, that was a pretty easy game that they got up to 136, so I'll take the over in this one as well. Hopefully we can get it at that low number. Next up, we have the Pelicans hosting Minnesota. Minnesota 8-3 on the season, coming off of a loss last, 3 days ago to the Phoenix Suns here. New Orleans coming off of a win last night against Denver. New Orleans has now won 2 games that I don't think you'd necessarily predict that they win. They beat Dallas by 21, then they beat Denver. They came from behind and, actually looked really good for a lot of that game and win by 5 last night. Whereas Minnesota must be kind of, they've had a couple days off. I feel like they're probably coming out of here being like, screw this, we're pissed, blah, 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 because I don't necessarily see them losing this game. This is a defense that is legit, that I am buying into, and it's a Pelicans offense that, though they've been really good, right, they've still been a little, like, I guess you could say questionable in terms of what they're going to give you. They scored 115 last night against Denver. They beat Dallas with a 131 score. So then just 2 games before that, they dropped 101 against the Rockets. So not necessarily the most consistent offense. And if you don't have a consistent offense, I don't love your chances against a Minnesota defense. A Minnesota defense that is absolutely stunning this year, allowing I think it's like the second. It was the first for a while, but the second fewest points in the entire league on the defensive end. And then in the second half, like, they get better and better here. Second ranked team in the third quarter, 4th ranked team in the fourth quarter. So they lock up when the game counts. A couple things to note here: Larry Nance Jr. still out, CJ McCollum still out, so nothing really changes there. But if you're not following the NBA every single day and you think the Pelicans have CJ McCollum, they don't, and who knows when he'll be back. That was a tough news to swallow there, collapsed lung. But give me Minnesota here, minus 6 points. Total sitting at 221. I can't help but like the under. I just talked about the defense, and the Pelicans offense can be a little streaky, so give me the under 221. I think it's a low number, Maybe we'll get a higher number or buy up to a higher number, but I take the under 221. All right, before we continue on with the rest of the slate, let me talk to you about Outlier. We've talked about them tons of times before, and that's because I love this tool, and I'll always be comfortable promoting it to you guys. You can get 7 days free with the link in the pinned comment. We can jump into Outlier right now so you can see that I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass, that this is super valuable. I'm on the player prop screen right now. Every player prop that is available, I set my minimum odds to -200, but every player prop that's available, you can see their last 5, last 10, last 20. You can go in and start to analyze. Jimmy Butler, under 10.5 rebounds plus assists, right? Okay, well, he's hit the under in 9 straight games. On the season, he's hit the under in 9 of his last 10. You can also see the best odds out there. Looks like FanDuel's the only one allowing this. The only problem with this, they also have, and with this play, is that Outlier also says, hey, they're playing Chicago. Chicago allowing the 28th, rebound in terms of rebound prevention, and then 23rd in assists allowed to opposing teams. And against small forward, it gets even worse. So you might want to stay off of this, right? And a bunch of supporting stats and all that good stuff. You can also go through and look at game breakdowns as well and see where the public is and everything like that in terms of bet percentage, guys. So go ahead and check out Outlier. That link is in the pinned comment. Again, 7 days free. After that, it's $19.99 a month, which isn't all that crazy. But even if you don't want to spend $20 a month on this tool, try it out for 7 days. Like, why wouldn't you just go do that? I'm sure the guys at Outlier don't love me saying that, but go get 7 days free, right? Take advantage of the offer. Let's go ahead and jump into Milwaukee taking on Dallas. This should be a good game, right? Like, you have two good teams. Milwaukee has been a little like, what's going on here? But they might be righting the ship, right? Last 3 wins have been pretty good now. The competition has been that crazy. Toronto, I give them credit for. Without Giannis, they even beat. But other than that, it was Chicago and Charlotte in those last couple games there. But nonetheless, still 3 wins in a row. They're kind of back to being a team where their record looks good. They're 8-4 right now, and they're 5-1 at home. The only concern here is they're 3-8-1 against the spread. Like, yuck, bad team against the spread right now. Going up against the Dallas team that is 7-5 against the spread here. They're also 5-2 on the road, so I wouldn't tip my nose at them playing on the road. And they're 9-3 straight up. In terms of what we're looking at for injuries, Kyrie Irving is probable. That's the only major injury to note here today. I like the Mavericks in this spot getting the points. Now, I know I just kind of said that the Milwaukee Bucks are kind of starting to figure it out and put the pieces together, right? I think they're learning it, and this could just be my opinion, and maybe it's not right, maybe it's incorrect, but I think they're kind of learning how to play as almost like a strictly offensive team, if that makes sense. Now, their defenses looked okay even last night, right? But they played Charlotte. Like, I wouldn't give them all that much credit, but the way that, you have Giannis and I would say Lillard now playing with one another, they're going to need to learn that, okay, well, one of these guys is probably going to go off each night. I don't know if the way that they play, they can both go off, but they're going to need to just run and gun, score a bunch of points and that type of thing. I don't like that game plan against a Mavs team that has been doing that and is doing that this season, right? So if they're going to play the Mavs game, if they go in there and lock down and want to play slow defensive basketball, then this pick probably goes out the window. But if they're going in with kind of how they've had some of their better wins this season, which is playing up tempo, then I do think that this is a game just like when Milwaukee lost to the Pacers a couple weeks back, right? Like, they went in there trying to play the Pacers game. The Pacers just outpaced them, no pun intended, right? So the Mavs are going to out-Mavs them in today's game. So give me them +2 here on the road. Total sitting at 245. You look at that and you say, wow, that's such a high number, right? But like, listen to what I just said. Like, these are two teams that are probably going to score a lot of points. So though I might not be, pulling the trigger myself, I don't think that I can look at that game and say, no way that it's an under, right? You have the Mavs that are averaging nearly 125 per game, and then you have Milwaukee just under 120 per game. Like, it makes sense why that total's at 245. So slight lean towards the over here. If I can knock that down or find some team props and team totals in a same game parlay, I do not hate a same game parlay potential for this game. And we've been on fire with same game parlays this season. So keep an eye on the pinned comment and on YouTube Shorts for our same game parlays. All right, Chicago taking on Miami here. The only concern in this one that's making me worrisome about this game is the spread only being 2.5. Like, this Miami team has now won, 7 in a row? And again, I've said it in multiple videos, like, I don't know if I buy into the strength of schedule, but nonetheless, 7 wins are 7 wins, right? They're back to 8-4 here on the season. Positive record now on the road, 4-3. Like, I give them credit. Do I want to see them do it against some legitimate teams? Yes. Like, this win streak, right? Washington, Lakers, Memphis, Atlanta, San Antonio, Charlotte, and then Brooklyn, which Brooklyn, I do think is a good team, but they're missing some guys. But again, this is a weird one. Like, I think that this is such an obvious Miami spot, right? But then I'm like, but why is it only 2.5? Like, this Miami team is, no pun intended, they're the Heat, but they're one of the hottest teams right now in terms of win-loss in the last week or so, last 2 weeks, right? Why, against one of the worst teams playing right now, are they only 2.5 favorites? That's the type of line reading you guys got to do. I mean, maybe it's still worth taking the chance and being like, hey, it might be a trap, but it's still worth it right now, right? Because this is, again, a team that has just won a crazy amount of games in a row. So I guess, man, I lean towards the Heat in this spot. Again, it's a little like, why is it only 2.5? But it's only 2.5. Maybe we just got to take what the gambling gods give us here. Total sitting at 213. Seems maybe a little bit too low for me. If you look at what Miami has been doing, they have been scoring last few games here, 117, 118, 111, 122. Now, Chicago's kind of on the opposite end of things. They just had 2 games in a row in which they went sub 100 against Orlando. So that's a little tough to swallow if you do like the over here. But this is a Miami team that ranks in the bottom 10 in field goal percentage against. And they are a good defense in terms of points allowed, but they're just not making it difficult for teams. So if Chicago can give us maybe 102, like a low scoring game, right? 102. I don't mind Miami to be able to go out there and give us, 110-ish and make this over really doable. So give me a floor of 110 and 102. And then we need one more bucket to cash an over. I'll take the over here. But again, it's a low number for a reason. I'm doing some line reading in this game and it's scaring me a little bit, but keep an eye on the pin comment to see if and what we end up rolling with. All right, San Antonio is taking on Memphis here. Right now, San Antonio 3-point favorites. The total sitting at 226.5. We obviously, San Antonio killed us yesterday. We had the Suns covering 5 points against them. San Antonio late in the game makes that, or excuse me, Sacramento, we did win this game, so never mind. San Antonio, we just barely covered that one. So we had Sacramento -9 or -8.5, and San Antonio makes a close enough game that we had to sweat the crap out of ourselves. But Sacramento does end up winning 129-120. Memphis coming off of a tough loss to the Lakers, but they did get their second win of the season just before that. I think that this is a San Antonio team that really hasn't figured anything out, and it's tough because they're playing against Memphis, right? Now Memphis looking like they'll be without Marcus Smart for a few weeks. Like, they're just so banged up altogether. Vassell and Jones also 2 questionable guys on the San Antonio side of things, but I don't have the strongest of leans in this game, but I am going to lean San Antonio getting the points because I don't want to put my money behind Memphis, right? Like, I'm reluctantly leaning towards San Antonio here. I can admit that. What I will say is the total of 226.5, I think, is a little bit too low. Like, this is a San Antonio team that, newsflash, their games have been super high scoring. They're 10-2 to the over this season, right? Like, I don't care that Memphis isn't the best offense. Like, if Memphis can give you, they're maybe a slightly up of what they normally do, and they're averaging just 109 on the season, they're playing one of the worst defenses they've played. So if they can give you 112, 114, like, this is a doable over for 2 bad defensive teams. Like, even this Memphis defense, right? Like, we always think of Memphis as a good defense. They're allowing the 8th most points per game in the season. So on the season. So I'll take the over 226.5 as my main lean in this game. All right, Golden State taking on OKC. We did just see this matchup a couple nights back, and the Thunder routed them 128-109. Now, it does make sense. You have no Draymond. Clay stunk it up. Steph wasn't in that game. Steph is questionable in this spot, and that is going to be a big factor as to what I ultimately end up rolling with in this game. As of right now, if Steph doesn't play, I think you got to look at OKC. Like, what has changed from 2 days ago to now, right? Like, this is still a Draymond-less team. Klay Thompson, I'm starting to lose faith in that he can even have these big games anymore. He can, but you know what I mean. What do you have, like 4 or 5 points last game? Like, come on. And if Steph doesn't play, it's like, yikes. Like, they don't have the Jordan Poole anymore to step in for Steph. It's like, this Warriors team is very reliant on those guys. And OKC putting together a fairly good season. You're 9-3 against the spread. They're 4-1 on the road. They're 8-4 straight up this year too. Like, I like what I see out of them. You have a really young team, and guys just kind of putting it together. Like, Shea went for 24, Giddey went for 19, Williams went for 16, Holmgren went for a double-double last game. Like, this is a team that they are super, super young, but they are playing good basketball, and they're competing with some legitimate teams. Like, on the season here, they've obviously had some, a couple losses, but beating, I think it was a big win was they beat Cleveland, right when everyone was on Cleveland, that was when they were getting their guys back. They crushed Atlanta. Golden State, sure, you could say that they may be a better team than that, but without Steph, they're kind of in that same range. So this is the type of tier that Oklahoma City has seemingly exceeded, right? They're not that Cleveland team anymore, or at least for now, 12 games into the year. I think they are actually a legitimate team. They're not just a young, good team with promise. They're just a young, good team now. So I'll take them here if Steph doesn't play. Even if Steph plays, it might move the line a little bit, and I might consider OKC, plus 1.5, plus 2 if it shifts all that much. Total sitting at 232.5. I think this one finishes right around 230. I'll be completely honest. So I'm going to stick away from the total, but if anything, I lean slightly towards the under, because again, I think this one probably finishes right around like 230, maybe 229, something like that. Like if I had to predict a final score, it might even be OKC 116, Golden State 114 or something like that, right? Like pretty damn close. So I'll stick away from that total, but I do lean slightly towards the under. If Steph plays, again, throws kind of a wrench into everything. But yeah, guys, that's what we have for you in today's video. If you've made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 1-6. Give me a 16 in the comments showing me that you made it to the end of the video. And go ahead and pick up some Fade Me merch, guys. Tons of new stuff. We got the Santa drinking the beer with the money bag that's on the back of the t-shirt. That just launched recently. We got the tie-dye collection that just launched. If you are watching every day and want to support, the best way you can do it is by picking up some Fade Me gear. It's legitimate merch, guys. It's not just like, I don't want to call any companies, but the ones that are kind of crappy, you just like slap a label on and ship it out. No, this is some legit stuff, guys. I'm very confident in the merch that we've built. So go check out fademe.store, but that's going to do it for our picks. Make sure you're checking out all our football videos. Those are all live as of right now. And yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.